Today we're going to talk about rub off and rub off on. They're used differently. A viewer sent me a message asking me to explain this confusing expression, so that's what we're doing today. First, let's talk about rub off. This is the action rub. I rub my hands together when I'm cold. Rub. So, if I take a pen and mark on my skin, oh, it's okay, it will rub off. Off is to say it's removed. It's not there anymore. I can rub it off. I can rub it until it is gone, until it is removed. That is rub off. So don't worry. It will rub off. Like I can say it will wash off. If I wash my hand and I remove it that way, I can say I washed it off. It will wash off. Well, if I rub it with my hands, it will rub off. So rub off means to remove something by rubbing it. It will rub off. So let's check. Is it still there or did it rub off? No, it's still there. It didn't rub off. I need to wash it off. Now let's talk about rub off on. Rub off on is when someone else's characteristics become your characteristics because you're close to them, because you spend time with them. Example, my wife is very sensitive to smells. I wasn't before I met her, and now after years and years, I am sensitive to smells. I wasn't before. This characteristic rubbed off on me. From spending a lot of time with her, now I have the same characteristic that she has. It rubbed off on me. If my wife asks me, why are you sensitive to smells? I'll say, I got it from you. It rubbed off on me. Because now I'm sensitive to smells, I got it from her. I can use the expression, it rubbed off on me. So remember the difference. Rub off is to remove something by rubbing. It will rub off. And rub off on is when you talk about someone getting the characteristics from somebody else by spending time together with them. Today we're learning the phrasal verb spruce up. Pronunciation, use the long oo like food and moon. Oo, sprue, spruce, spruce up. It means to make something look better. So we need an object. What are we going to spruce up? We're going to spruce up the room. We want to make the room look better, cleaner, nicer. We're going to spruce up the room. If I use a substitution for the room, a pronoun like it, we put it in the middle. Spruce it up. We cannot say spruce up it. No, it has to go in the middle. Spruce it up. Pronunciation, spruce it up. The T in it changes to a fast D. It, spruce it up. The room looks okay, but we want to make it look better. We want to spruce it up.
And add a mirror or a macrame wall to spruce it up.
And then I can add some of my glitters just to kind of spruce it up a little bit.
If you're seeking some ideas to spruce it up, you need to check out these 10 builder-grade kitchen inspirations.
We can spruce up the room with a fresh coat of paint. We can paint the room. We can paint the room and spruce it up. Let's practice. Are they going to spruce up the room? That's right, they're going to spruce up the room. Are they going to paint the room and spruce it up? That's right, they're going to paint the room and spruce it up. What if I change it to past? Spruce in the past is spruced, making the T sound. Spruced, spruced it up, spruced it up, spruced it up. The ED makes a T sound, spruced it up. The T in it is a fast D, it up, spruced it up. So, they painted the room. They spruced it up. It looks much better. Let's practice. Did they paint the room and spruce it up? That's right, they painted the room and spruced it up. So remember, the phrasal verb, spruce up, it means to make something look better. Today we're learning different phrasal verbs using the action hang. Whenever you see A-N-G, it is pronounced with the long A sound. A, like day and say. Pronunciation, hang, hang. First, we need to talk about the verb and its past tense. The past form of hang is hung, hung. The U makes a short sound like cup and up, hung. In the present, hang. In the past, hung. If you look for it, you might see that the past form can be hanged. But hanged is only used when you talk about people. If you hang a person, you can say, he was hanged. But for everything else, don't say hanged, say hung, including our phrasal verbs. We use the past form hung with all phrasal verbs. First, let's talk about the phrasal verb hang around. It means to spend time, not doing anything important, just socializing, talking, spending time. Hang around. We use the preposition with, but it's an optional preposition. You don't have to use it.
I'd probably be hanging around the airport, reading old magazines, crying in my coffee because you didn't come with me.
A popular kid like that doesn't have to hang around with losers.
They've been hanging around for 2 days waiting on you.
Most of the time, I just hang around with the others.
Who am I gonna hang around with, Madeline and Helen?
And I just want you to know that if you ever want to hang around practice like you used to, or if you need a ride home or anything, just let me know.
Example, she shouldn't hang around with that boy. Or I can say she shouldn't hang around that boy. The preposition with is optional. She shouldn't hang around with that boy because he's mean. He's a bad boy. He's not nice. She shouldn't hang around with him. I told her not to hang around with him anymore. Or you can say, I told her not to hang around him anymore. With is optional. Let's practice. Should she hang around with that boy? That's right. She shouldn't hang around with that boy. Does she still hang around with that boy? That's right. She doesn't hang around with that boy anymore. And when we use the phrasal verb hang around and talk about places, the preposition is at. And it's also optional. We don't have to use it. Or I can say it without the preposition. Teenagers like to hang around the mall. Both are correct. If I talk about the past, if I talk about yesterday, I can say they hung around at the mall yesterday. Or I can say they hung around the mall yesterday. In the past, hung. They hung around. They hung around at the mall.
I just want to stop by to see what kind of people my father hung around with.
I hung around the obvious places for a while.
Let's practice. Do teenagers like to hang around at the mall? That's right. Teenagers like to hang around at the mall. Or without the preposition, do teenagers like to hang around the mall? That's right. Teenagers like to hang around the mall. Let's practice in the past. Did they hang around at the mall yesterday? That's right. They hung around at the mall yesterday. Now let's talk about the phrasal verb hang out. Hang out means about the same thing as hang around. Spend time, not doing anything important, socializing, talking, hanging out, spending time. But with this phrasal verb, we have to use the prepositions. If I'm talking about a person, I have to say with. Example, he likes to hang out with his friends. I need the preposition with. It's not optional.
Ever since we all started hanging out, I don't know, it just feels different, like I'm included.
It was like hanging out with my mom.
Sure, we used to hang out in high school.
I used to hang out here when things got bad at home.
My sister and I used to hang out there all the time.
I have to use it. He likes to hang out with his friends. And if I talk about the place, I need the preposition at. He likes to hang out with his friends, and he likes to hang out at the mall. At is necessary. He likes to hang out with his friends, and he likes to hang out at the mall. If I talk about yesterday, I can say yesterday he hung out with his friends, using hung in the past. Yesterday he hung out with his friends. Yesterday he hung out at the mall. Let's practice. Does he like to hang out with his friends? That's right, he likes to hang out with his friends. Where does he like to hang out? That's right, he likes to hang out at the mall. And let's talk about yesterday. Did he hang out with his friends yesterday? That's right, he hung out with his friends yesterday. And where did they hang out? Did they hang out at the mall? That's right, they hung out at the mall. Now let's talk about this phrasal verb, hang up. We use it for two different situations. One is this, she's hanging up her clothes. If I talk about where in the closet, I don't have to use up. I can just use the verb. She's hanging her clothes in the closet. But if I don't mention the closet, it's better to use up. She's hanging up her clothes.
I wish.
Hang up your coat.
If you feel comfortable, hang up your coat.
You know why they take away your nightstick when you hang up your uniform?
No.
I'll hang up your coat for you.
Hey, Nick, why don't you take those bags upstairs? And Susan, will you hang up your grandmother's things?
And this phrasal verb is different because it is separable. That means I can separate it. I can say, she needs to hang up her clothes, or I can say she needs to hang her clothes up. I can put the object in the middle, and I can use a continuous form, hanging. Hanging. What is she doing? She's hanging up her clothes. She's hanging her clothes in the closet. If I say in the past, hung. She hung up her clothes. Where did she hang up her clothes? She hung up her clothes in the closet. Or I can say she hung her clothes in the closet. Both are correct. Let's practice in present. What is she doing? Is she hanging up her clothes? That's right. She's hanging up her clothes. And where is she hanging them? Is she hanging them in the closet? That's right. She's hanging them in the closet. Let's practice in the past. Did she hang up her clothes? That's right. She hung up her clothes. Where did she hang them? Did she hang them in the closet? That's right. She hung them in the closet. We can also use the phrasal verb hang up when we talk about this, when we end a phone call. Because a long time ago, the phones were different, and they hung on the wall. So you hang up the phone. This is also separable. I can say hang up the phone or hang the phone up. I can put the object in the middle. So in the past, I can say he hung up the phone. Or I don't have to say phone at all. I can just say he hung up.
You say hang up the phone.
Don't do an accent. Hang up the phone.
Hello?
Hello! How are you? Hang up the phone!
Hang up the phone, Helen, right now.
Let's practice. Did he hang up the phone? That's right. He hung up the phone. And why did he hang up? Did he hang up because he was angry? That's right. He hung up because he was angry. And we can use one more preposition, on. If you're talking to someone and they end the conversation, they end the phone call first. You can say, they hung up on me. He hung up on me. Example, he hung up on me. Why did he hang up on me? Because he was angry. He hung up on me because he was angry. Let's practice. Did he hang up on me? That's right, he hung up on me. Why did he hang up on me? That's right, he hung up on me because he's angry. So remember these different phrasal verbs. Hang around, hang out, and hang up. And remember the verb hang. In the past, use hung. And not hanged, unless you're talking about a person. First, let's start with the base verb. Dry is the verb. It's also an adjective I can describe. I can say the clothes are wet, and the opposite, the clothes are dry. That is an adjective. Example of the verb. The clothes are in the washer, and when the clothes come out of the washer, they're wet. So I need to dry the clothes. Dry is the verb. I can dry the clothes in the dryer, or I can dry them a different way. I can dry my clothes on this. This is called a clothesline. I can dry my clothes on the clothesline. Don't forget these. These are called clothespins. You need clothespins if you dry your clothes on the clothesline. Example, she likes to dry her clothes on the clothesline. What about you? Do you like to dry your clothes on the clothesline? Very good. Let's practice. Does she like to dry her clothes on the clothesline? That's right. She likes to dry her clothes on the clothesline. Now let's talk about you. After you take a shower, you're wet. So you need to dry yourself? We don't say that. You need to dry your body? We don't say that either. We have a phrasal verb for this situation. We say dry off. After you take a bath, you need to dry off. After you take a bath or a shower, you have to dry off. You need a towel to dry off after you take a shower. Let's practice. Does he need to dry off after the shower? That's right. He needs to dry off after the shower. Does he need a towel to dry off? That's right. He needs a towel to dry off. After you go swimming, you need to dry off. But you have options. You can dry off with a towel, or you can dry off in the sun. They are drying off in the sun. They prefer to dry off in the sun. They don't need towels to dry off. They can dry off in the sun. Let's practice. Do they need towels to dry off? That's right. They don't need towels to dry off. Can they dry off in the sun? That's right. They can dry off in the sun. You can also dry off other things. For example, my dog. After I give my dog a bath, I need to dry my dog off. Or dry off my dog. This is a separable phrasal verb. So I can put the dog in the middle, dry the dog off. Or I can put the dog at the end, dry off the dog. But if I use a pronoun, the dog is a boy, so I say him. I have to put him, the pronoun, in the middle. Dry him off. I cannot say dry off him. So after I give my dog a bath, I need to dry him off with a towel. Not my towel. He has his own towel. So after you give the dog a bath, you need to dry him off. Let's practice. After you give the dog a bath, do you need to dry him off? That's right. After you give the dog a bath, you need to dry him off. We can also use dry off when we talk about flat surfaces, like dishes or the counter or the table. You can say, I need to dry the dishes or I need to dry off the dishes. People say both. Let's practice. Do they need to dry off the dishes? That's right. They need to dry off the dishes. Or if there's water on the counter, you need a towel to dry off the counter. I can use a towel to dry off the counter. Let's practice. Can you use a towel to dry off the counter? That's right. You can use a towel to dry off the counter. Now let's talk about this phrasal verb, dry out. We use the phrasal verb dry out to talk about something that is not supposed to be dry, or to dry something completely. Example, the turkey. I cooked the turkey too long, and now the turkey is dry. I can say the turkey is dry, or I can use this phrasal verb. The turkey is dried out. Let's talk about pronunciation. Remember, dr together makes a j sound like juice and jump. Dry. I changed the verb into an adjective with ed, dried. Dried out. I link the sounds with a fast d in the middle. Dried out. Dried out. The turkey is dried out because I cooked it too long. The meat is not supposed to be dry. It's supposed to be moist, but it's not. So I can use the phrasal verb, the turkey is dried out. It's not good. Let's practice. What happened? Did he cook the turkey too long? That's right. He cooked the turkey too long. Is the turkey dried out now? That's right. The turkey is dried out now. Another example. The soil. This is soil. When we talk about dirt or earth, we say soil. And the soil is not supposed to be dry. It's supposed to have water in it. So when it doesn't, we say it's dried out. When the soil is dried out, it's not good for the plants. It's not good for the trees. And what is the reason? The hot weather. The hot weather will dry out the soil in the summer. That's right. The hot weather will dry out the soil in the summer. It's not good for plants or trees. Let's practice. Will the hot weather dry out the soil in the summer? That's right. The hot weather will dry out the soil in the summer. Another example, your skin. Your skin is not supposed to be dry, but in the winter, the cold wind will dry out your skin, and it's not good. Let's practice. In the winter, can the cold wind dry out your skin? That's right. In winter, the cold wind can dry out your skin. Another example, makeup. You can have makeup containers for a long time, and after they get really old, the makeup will dry out. It's dry, and it's not supposed to be. Let's practice. What happens to really old makeup? Can it dry out? That's right. It can get old and dry out. Another meaning of dry out that you will find in dictionaries is to stop drinking alcohol. someone goes away to stop drinking alcohol because they have a problem and they dry out. This is not used anymore. This is an old expression. You might see it in an old movie, but it's not common anymore. For this situation, we say get sober. If somebody is drinking too much alcohol and they need to stop, they need to get sober. Don't use dry out. It's an old expression. We don't use it anymore. Now let's talk about dry up. Pronunciation, dry up. To link the vowel I, dry, to the short in up, we need a sound in the middle, y. Dry, dry up, dry up. Dry up means to evaporate or disappear, usually talking about water. Example, the river dried up. What happened to the water in the river? It disappeared. It evaporated over time. So we use the phrasal verb dry up. What happened to the river? It dried up. There's no more water. Let's practice. What happened to the river? Did it dry up? That's right, the river dried up. Or a pond. There was a pond here, but now it's gone. It disappeared. It evaporated. So we use the phrasal verb dried up. What happened to the pond? Did the pond dry up? That's right, the pond dried up. There's a wet floor sign. Is the floor still wet? I saw a puddle of water on the floor earlier. Oh no, the puddle is gone. What happened? Did somebody clean it? No, it evaporated. It dried up. There's no more puddle because the puddle dried up. Let's practice. Is there still a puddle on the floor or did it dry up? That's right. There's no more puddle on the floor. It dried up. This is a well, and sometimes the water will evaporate, and there's no more water in the well. So use the phrasal verb, dry up. In the past, dried. The well dried up. There's no more water in the well. Let's practice. Is there any more water in the well, or did the well dry up? That's right. There's no more water in the well. The well dried up. And water is a resource. It's an important resource. So sometimes we use this phrasal verb to talk about other resources. Example, money. That's right. Sometimes you'll hear people use the phrasal verb dry up to refer to money disappearing. Your resource, your income, your revenue can dry up. Example, he was making a lot of money. He had a lot of customers, but then his revenue, his income, his money dried up. Let's practice. What happened? Did his revenue dry up? That's right. His revenue dried up. So remember, dry is a verb and an adjective. And sometimes we need a phrasal verb like dry up, dry off, or dry out. Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to become a member, click the join button. And we'll see you next time.